lots of reports this evening that Southampton are set to announce that Will Still has been sacked. We're still hitting F5 and waiting for the official announcement as we record this podcast. But we've had some pretty credible sources, Glenn. So that announcement is due. Your initial reaction to that?
It's an individual carrying the can for the collective failure of the ownership, really. They appointed him. It was a gamble. It hasn't worked out. And he's carrying the can. He was always going to carry the can once the... you can't feel sorry for him, really, because the results have been shocking. And it's, managers know when they go into a job that if the results are as bad as this, and the expectations were reasonably high at the start of the season, he knows he's going to carry the can. But once the fans en masse start chanting against the ownership, so we had all the Sport Republic get out of our club thing going on yesterday. Once that happens, then it's always the ownership will go, they're finally pointing a finger at us. We're going to be seen to be doing something. So I did think logically that he might get the next two games or get the next one game. For me, I thought he had to win at QPR to get given another home game against Sheffield Wednesday, and then he had to win that one because A, it's Sheffield Wednesday, and B, it's it's another home game after yesterday's shambles. But not surprised in the slightest that he hasn't survived the weekend. But you just hope that there are people taking a long, hard look at themselves, as we've said a number of times this season about players. But I don't, pick from Phil Parsons down through the Sport Republic board. Do we think they're looking at themselves? I guess time will tell. What they do with the next appointment is obviously key for the rest of this season. I don't trust them to get it right. So they've got to prove me wrong there.
Their track record is not stellar, is it? Let's be frank.
It's kind of one hit, isn't it, out of however many. So that was Russell Martin's first season in the Championship. But no, it's a shame it hasn't worked out. Obviously, as we'd all like to see the team winning a few games and us actually going to St Mary's and enjoying the game and enjoying the outcome. But it's not happening. And no, I'm not surprised he's gone. It's a shame on one level for Will, but I think he did seem to be floundering somewhat out of his depths. I don't think he's helped himself. There's been no discernible style of play. I think we first voiced this after the first couple of pre-season friendlies. It's like, what are we trying to do here? And to be honest, it hasn't improved. I do feel that something. We had the win against Wrexham in the first game, and I think we were okay for sort of 3 or 4 games. You could see a bit of an improvement, a bit of what we're trying to do. But from the Portsmouth game onwards, it's kind of been, what are we trying to do here? Are we improving? And the answer generally has been no. So I'm not surprised it's happened. And all we can do is roll on to the next one, because as I said at the end of the game, when we go to QPR, Sport Republic will still be there. The crap players we've got will still be there, and it's just a question of whether the manager will be there, and he's not going to be.
Doesn't look like so. We're expecting the announcement the official announcement in the next 60 seconds or so. And as Dan said, sacked on a podcast is an interesting new chant. It was pretty toxic yesterday, Steve, wasn't it? And we will get on to the game in just a moment. But I think he said in his post-match interview, he said, I don't think there is an instant fix, to be honest with you. And he said, I think whoever it is, there's a big job. It was almost like he knew this was coming.
He'd have had an inkling. I don't think it's necessarily. I just don't think it will have come as a shock. He's not stupid. These people don't. While people think that footballers and people in the game exist in a complete bubble, he will be very well aware of the kind of the sentiment. And I mean, you only have to look at the reaction he's had at full time in various games in the last sort of 6 weeks or so. Hull away was probably the first one where it was pretty grim. And other than, Sheffield United away obviously was good, but other than that, we've largely sort of ended games badly, and the end of games is the bits that people tend to remember. And because that's where the result is decided, and results haven't been good enough. As you say, it's not worked out. But as Glenn said, it's one person carrying the can for the mistakes of many. All of those players should be having a fairly solid look at themselves. Have we done enough? No, absolutely not. Even the ones that are sort of have been lauded by many of us and the wider fan base over the last 6 weeks or so. That second half, nobody really showed up for more.
Can I just stop you there, Steve? Because they've announced it. We've got the official announcement from the club. Yeah, the statement says Southampton Football Club can confirm this evening that we parted ways with men's first team manager Will Still. Rubén Martinez, Clément Lemaitre, and Carl Martin have also left their positions at the club. Men's under-21s head coach Tonda Eckert will take charge of the team on an interim basis. Group technical director Johannes Spoor says Will is a great person who gave everything to try and improve performances and results. Ultimately, that process has taken longer than any of us would have liked. By making a change now, we believe it gives us the best chance of turning things around this season and climbing back up the league table. I would like to thank Will, Rubén, Clément and Carl for their efforts and wish them well for the future. So about climbing back up the table from Johannes Spoors, but he's going to feel a bit like he got this one quite badly wrong.
I wonder if Juventus are kind of reconsidering that job offer if it ever was on the table. I mean, what an absolute shit show. And that's now the second sort of promising under-21 manager that we've promoted into the role of interim first team manager off the back of a dreadful on the back of an appointment that's not worked, and that all comes down to the same people. Spoors obviously didn't appoint Juric, but he certainly would have been involved. Obviously with Still, and I presume with Rusk as well. I'm trying to remember back when Spoors actually first joined the club. Depending on how much say he's had, how much the CEO above has had, because we know that he's wanted to stick his fingers in the pie every now and then. Those are the rumours that keep floating around, and they tend to come from pretty good sources. So it's one of those you've got. At the end of the day, we have no control over this as fans. It's you're kind of left in the hands of people who have demonstrated themselves to be not up to the job. It's a 1 in 6 hit rate at the moment, and I've seen suggestions that Russell Martin might come back. Why would he come back? Like, why would he even bother? Like, yeah. he left on bad terms, and yeah, why would you throw yourself into a worse situation than the one he picked up 2.5 years ago?
Well, we'll get onto the list of replacements in a moment, because obviously there's been some betting odds today, and there's a few familiar names on that list. No word on Adam Lallana. I'm just checking through it again, so it looks like he might be sticking around as well, Glenn. But he's kind of been consistently
avoids all explosions.
Well, I did think maybe when he put his house up for sale this week there might be something in it, but his name wasn't mentioned, so maybe he is sticking around for the time.
No, and Carl Martin is an interesting one, because he's been there since the Ralph days. So I don't know why they've suddenly thought he's part of the problem. That's an interesting one, but only interesting in a minor way. Tonda Eckert, I don't know anything about. I don't know. I know he's managing the under-21, so I don't know what he did before that, whether he's going to command the respect of the players. I kind of think that's been part of the problem with Will Still. It's kind of a pet theory that, we've seen it before with Saints, where you appoint someone who's a little bit different, who doesn't have a traditional background, that players don't respond to him. They kind of think he's not worthy of their time, sort of thing. So I don't know how Tonda Eckert is going to get on with this lot. I don't know how. I don't know where you really where you really go. I mean, I would suggest that is definitely only going to be these 2 games, and then they're going to use the international break to get the real target in for the rest of the season and beyond, hopefully. But it's. It's not. The statement is what it is. I'm just reading it again now. There's that bit about climbing the league table. Yeah, nice idea. I mean, what? Well, we don't really want to do the opposite, do we? As we're one place above the relegation zone.
Did you think it might say the best chance of avoiding relegation? Maybe we're not quite there yet, I don't think. Let's welcome Alfie, who is with us. We're all a little bit later than scheduled. Alfie House, if you're joining us for the first time, is senior Southampton reporter for the Daily Echo. So I imagine your phone's been pinging and going off the hook quite a bit in the last half hour. Alfie, what have you made of it all?
Yeah, well, to be fair play to L'Equipe. Obviously, you've got a whiff of that before anyone else. I don't know what I've made of it, really. It's interesting that Paul Trollope is still here, according to that statement. So they've got rid of, obviously, Carl Martin, Clément, who followed from RC Lens, and the goalkeeping coach, obviously, who used to work at Stade Rennes. But Paul Trollope's here, so I guess it's Tonda and Paul for Wednesday. I mean, I'm sure that you've all said a lot of the same things I'm about to say because I missed the first 10 minutes, but I do feel that I felt that Will Steele was really unlucky for the first sort of 10 games, I guess, of the first 13. And I felt that the games that they didn't win, they probably should have won. Obviously, Swansea being the prime suspect, but also missed chances and silly goals and all this sort of stuff. And to be fair, that has carried on into the last 3 games as well. But the performances have got worse dramatically in the last couple of weeks. And I'm sure Glen has already said this. When the fans start chanting against, the owners and the board and so on, the cheapest and only way to really remedy that in the short term is to change the manager. But yeah, I felt that the last couple of games have just looked a little bit lost, tactically. Not necessarily from the start. I'm not talking about 5 at the back and all this sort of stuff, but just the in-game changes. It hasn't really looked like it's been throwing stuff at a wall and hoping it sticks, really, hasn't it? And it hasn't stuck at all. And I'm sure I'm sure I heard you saying then, Glenn, about the players. I'm sure that they didn't have him from day one because he hasn't played the game, and they're all above that now because they're all brilliant players, obviously, who should be in the Premier League. So I'm sure that they all think like that. Tonda Eckert is interesting. I mean, obviously, Tonda's under-21s team are very good. Before he came to Saints, he was a manager, assistant manager at Genoa, the men's team. So at least he's been in the dressing room of a men's game. He was at RB Salzburg when they were sort of going to the UEFA Youth League final. So he's got all these brilliant coaching attributes. But yeah, the big thing now is, can he pull a group of players together? Can he pull a group of players that don't have any leaders or any balls together and win a couple of championship games? So yeah, we'll see.
Are you right to stick around a bit, or have you got to shoot off and write things?
Well, I'm just do
paper stuff.
I'm sort of doing a paper with my colleagues at the same time, but I thought I would drop in.
Have we got you for a few minutes? Is that all right?
No, I'm here. I'm nothing special. I'll be here.
Steve, I think Alfie makes a really good point there. It just needs someone to come in now with a bit of experience to try and get something out of this team. I don't blame Will still entirely for where we are. I just kind of felt like he was out of his depth, and maybe it was a big job a little bit too early in his career. Do you think there is a decent manager in there? It's just the wrong one at this time.
Well, I mean, he demonstrated in France that he's a decent manager. He's done well with Rennes and RC Lens. They're moderately sized clubs in that division, and he had them kind of probably slightly above where they should be in the kind of natural food chain in Ligue 1. But I guess the expectation levels at those 2 clubs relative to the division they're in, you can play quite reactive football. Whereas this job, I guess, is probably the first time where his team is expected to be on the front foot in basically every game, maybe barring a handful. So I think that transition has been probably difficult. And also, I imagine he's not had to deal with a bigger bunch of dickhead players as he has when he has when he's come in here.
Yeah.
Because frankly, I'm fed up with this lot.
But we found that with Juric as well, didn't we?
Yeah,
to a certain extent, they just didn't fancy him, and so that was it.
And it's I mean, we said at the back end of last season, didn't we? But genuinely couldn't really give a toss if they all left. Not bothered. And yeah, the ones that have carried over, yeah, still not bothered. And we haven't seen anything from any of them that kind of counters the argument that either they aren't good enough, which a lot of them showed they were good enough 2 years ago under Russell Martin in the Championship, certainly comfortably good enough for this level, but also that they have the stomach for the fight, and that has come up so far short in so many games where the fine margins haven't gone our way, and they've all stood around kind of shrugging their shoulders. There's no kind of attitude of, well, we're better than these, so we will take it to them and we'll show them that we're good, that we're better than them. It's been like, well, we'll just kind of play around. If it this kind of suits us at the moment, but then as soon as the opposition put up a little bit of a fight, they go running and they're just not interested. So yeah, I mean, good luck to the lads, Eckert, to turn things around ahead of a game on Wednesday night. And yeah, I mean, I think it'll be very interesting to hear the fan reaction next Saturday against Sheffield Wednesday, because that'll be a real litmus test. Because if you, I mean, it's not going to be on Eckert, is it? If they go and balls it up against Sheffield Wednesday, that'll be solely squarely on the players, Sport
Republic and the players, because that's the only two entities that are left.
Do you think the players, though? Do you think any of them are suddenly going to start playing better because Will Steele was gone? Do you think?
I think there's always the potential for a marginal upturn because they actually start trying again.
So Ryan Manning is going to start defending.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not expecting cartwheels onto the pitch and top corner goals anymore, because we've still got the same group of players who are cowards, and they're going to go to Loftus Road where it's very hard to play, and against a team that know what they're doing. And Tonda Eckert is going to have to work miracles if he's going to give 11 players a chance to win.
Steve is talking about, it's not pinging the ball in the top corner; it's doing the basics, and putting in the hard yards and having a will to win. Old cliches, being willing to run through brick walls and all this sort of stuff that we're not doing, and they haven't been doing under Will Steele. Because I question whether a vast majority of these players have got it in them. I just don't think. I think there's a lot. They'll all say they care. They might care about themselves, but I don't think they care about the club and the team and the supporters. And I just can't see there. But I think maybe if you got a manager in who was, I don't know, like when Ronald Koeman walked through the door, for example, there wouldn't have been a player in there who went, "Oh my God, it's Ronald Koeman," one of the best players ever, and that might have given some of them an uplift. But I think it's going to take more than that with this lot. And we talk about the squad. People have talked, and I've been talking to people since yesterday about we've got a top six squad, and I'm like, no, we haven't. We've got some individual players that some of the top six might want to use in a different way to we're using them, but a top six squad would be a balanced squad. It would have a better goalkeeper than we've got. It would have central defenders who take control. It would have a horrible bastard in midfield who would drive the team forward and drive the standards, and it would have our old favourite, the number 9. It would have a couple of leaders in it. That's a balanced squad that is in the top 6. We haven't got the squad. That falls on Spurs. He's built this squad. He talked some crap about it being like I can't remember the words he used, like a big project, a work of art or something daft like that.
Judge me at the end of the window, though, wasn't it? Is what he said, I think. At the end
the quote was that squad building is an art that only becomes clear when it's complete.
Yeah, it's pretty clear now, mate.
He's not come out of this with any glory at all, has he? I mean, he needs to carry a bit of the can for this as well, and obviously a lot of.
Well, one of the things that, if you remember Dragan Solak telling me in June was that they identified 3 key positions in which they need to sign important players. And obviously, we've hammered the number 9 home to death, but also the other 2 positions were centre half and number 10. And the centre half is Joshua Kouachi, who doesn't get in the team, and number 10 is Finn Azaz, who was hooked at half time. So the 3 critical positions where they said, we need to sign good players here, none of them are good enough at the moment. That has to fall on Johannes Spurs. It has to.
And the heat will continue on Sport Republic, I'm sure, Alfie. But I've been reading back through your interview from the summer, and it's really difficult to kind of blame Dragan Solak for any of this. But the money that he's put in, he's going to be fuming that he's had to pay out again for another manager to go. I can't imagine that he's happy at all with it.
The truth is that this season, I mean, don't get me wrong, Dragan Solak is not without any blame at all, because ultimately he's the leader of the organisation. The buck stops with the leader, it always does, and he's appointed, or whoever he's appointed hasn't worked over the course of 4 years now. This is 7 managers they've got rid of, I think, something like that. So clearly he has to take his part of the blame. But they need cash this season, Saints. They've spent a lot of money in the window, more than I know people say, we've got 35 million for Tyler Dibbling or whatever, but that's not how it works. You need cash now. They do need cash this season. That's 100%. They need more coming in. And Dragan's the man with the cash. So it is one of those where he's really important at the moment. And he's not completely blameless, but I don't think that I'm not looking at Dragan and thinking he's the reason we are where we are.
No,
it's the people he's appointed.
Jason McKnight makes a good point. He says we never seem to get the new manager bounce for some reason. Maybe because we always get the appointments wrong. But it's probably a good opportunity to move on to
the players are shit.
To who's next. I mean, I saw there was a list earlier on today. So before this announcement came out, the betting odds had Ralph Hasenhüttl down as 11-4 with one bookie for a return. Michael Carrick, I think, was second. Lee Carsley on the list. Russell Martin, obviously, is a name that's been mentioned quite a bit in the comments. 9-1. Gary O'Neill as well. I think you could get 100-1 on Matt Le Tissier. From what we're saying, Glenn, I think we need someone that's a bit of experience in the division, someone that's going to come in and just kick a few asses.
I'm not sure that experience in the division is as massive as people say it is. I think you need someone with a little bit of stature. I mean, if Ralph Hasenhüttl's top of the list and he wants it, I'd be amazed if he does. Why would he want to come back in the current state that the club is in? Just because he was in the crowd at Bristol City, I think that's because
he's mates with the Bristol City man.
Absolutely. Yeah. So it's nothing to do with us. I think it was just coincidental that we were there. And he would have, if he'd seen us in that game, he would have thought, don't fancy this lot much. So I don't know.
Unless he left after half an hour.
Yeah. I mean, out of those names, Gary O'Neill, I'm personally not having that. He's a Pompey.
The thing is, if taking O'Neill as one theoretical option, I mean, why would you make that appointment? You basically give the guy 0 honeymoon period because of his connections. You lose the first game and everything is toxic immediately. There is there's no room for any sort of bedding in period. He's got to have an impact immediately. And then as soon as it turns, if he does have an immediate impact, as soon as it turns the other way, all of a sudden the pressure's back on again. Whereas you get somebody who's got no affiliation with that lot down the road, which is the vast majority of people, and most sort of right-minded fans will give them a fair crack of the whip. But anyone who's got that sort of deep connection with Pompey, just steer clear. It's just PR disaster waiting to happen.
And all I'll say about Russell Martin is that there's no reason whatsoever why he would want to come back to us, even if we did want him. Apart from the fact his girlfriend supports us, that's it.
I mean, look, I may well end up looking absolutely stupid, but for me, there is 0 chance that happens. He's not popular within the club. The people who are going to be hiring him don't like him, and he doesn't like them. I mean, I just can't see that happening. Not for me.
And for the same reason, I'm guessing, the other name I've seen is Brendan Rodgers. That's just nonsense as well, isn't it? The amount I've seen that quite a bit as well in the comments, and I think Dan says he would never take the step down, but that's not why he left Celtic, is it? There wasn't an inkling that this job was going to come up. So, Jesse Marsh was another one on the list. I know we were sort of kind of close to him before, but not a no, Steve, completely.
I mean,
he turned the club down for being a basket case 2 years ago.
Well, yeah, there is that. I mean, his credentials are good, but I just don't think that's probably not viable. I mean, where's he? Canada national team, isn't he at the moment? So he'll be looking at a World Cup next summer. So no chance on that one.
It just looks a bit slim pickings to me.
Well, there was one target who everyone would have probably accepted a week ago, and that was obviously Danny Roll. But by waiting as long as they did, obviously
had he not turned it down though? Did I forget this? Because I'm sure, did we not approach Sheffield Wednesday before, and then he must have turned it down because
they approached Sheffield Wednesday in
it was the compensation issue, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they didn't want to pay Sheffield Wednesday for him. I don't know if they approached him in June or not, or in May.
Just like to say that was the manager I thought we were getting, and that was the one I wanted in the summer. I was kind of ignoring all the names, and then Will Still pops up, and like within 10 minutes, or it seems, we'd appointed him. So yeah, and Danny Rowe was unfortunately pitched up somewhere else now. So that's not a possibility for me. He would have ticked every box going, but there you go.
I assume history tells us, Alfie, that they're aimed to get somebody in for the international break. They'd have been looking, weren't they, for all the blame that Johannes Spals has to take. Presumably, he will have been thinking about who's next and who comes in, and he'll have a short list.
Well, I hope so. If he hasn't, then let him go to Juventus.
What's he doing?
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, what's he doing?
Yeah.
So I'm certain he will have done. Yeah. It's the perfect time of year, isn't it? Unfortunately, for a manager to be sacked. With that, we've got 2 weeks off in a week, and I did wonder if they would give Will Steele the QPR game. That was sort of always my suspicion. They give him the QPR game, get beaten in a tough place, and then you sort of get the tap in. Well, new manager bounce for the home game against Sheffield Wednesday, and you win, and then go into the international break with a bit more feeling. But although I'm sure it wouldn't have worked out that simple. But yeah, I'd expect someone to be appointed during the break at least. Although I don't have any information.
No. Any other thoughts on this before we move on? I kind of want to touch on the game from yesterday, obviously, but yeah, it's.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Long. I think Will Steele's frustration has been growing in the press, not with the press, in the press, saying things like, he even said as flat as yesterday said, "Oh, it's easy to play the way I want to play when you've got Ross Stewart, but we've only got small players." And I was just sort of thinking, "Oh yeah, fair enough." Like, I mean, what did we expect? I mean, we've hired a manager who it seems doesn't actually believe he can coach without having a target man, and they've not given him a target man. But
how many teams? How many teams in this league don't have one?
Well, it seems like every team we come up against does have one.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. But I'm probably 99% certain we are the only team that now doesn't have a starting player that's over 6 foot up front.
And it's just misreading of the championship, isn't it? By Spurs, thinking that Damien Downs could do that job, thinking Ross Stewart was going to be robust enough to stay fit, and that's been a colossal error. But that's not the only error.
No,
I mean, we keep, like I said at the start, blaming Will Steele is blaming one player for a collective. One person for a collective failure. The centre forward is definitely not the only issue, but it is definitely one of the major ones.